Falling in love with love is playing the fool's game. Is that how it goes? Is that what they really said? Is falling in love a fool's game? Or was it falling in love with love is the fool's game? I'm not an expert on love. I need to know more about that. And what I'm discovering is, as an older gentleman, and I still think I'm a gentleman, the ideas of love are really, really hard to learn. And particularly for older men. What does it really mean to be in love? Well, I've also heard that you will never achieve anything of great importance unless you fall in love with somebody or something. You'll never be fully alive until you fall in love, deeply in love, head over heels in love with somebody or something. Well, today I'd like to talk about that. Just a little bit, because I don't know very much about it, but I do know something about design. And what I'd like to talk to you about today, perhaps flowing into the weekend, is fall in love with a designer. That's right, fall in love with a designer. And we're going to talk about that on radio right now, Radio Today, Radio on the Edge, the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience, and the experiment begins right now. And indeed, it is a Thursday evening flowing into Friday. We might still do a program tomorrow, Friday flowing into the weekend. But you know what? That's the wonderful thing about personal on-demand radio. If we don't have anything worth saying, we don't have to say it. We don't have to go on. And sometimes that makes for a better program. We don't have the deadline to have to do it. It doesn't have to be so long. And if there's nothing really worthwhile, perhaps we can just invite you to enjoy the silence. But today I think I do have something that has been very, very helpful to me to understand, and I think it'll be helpful to you. That's always the goal, because this is the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience, and it is always an experiment. Life is, business is, it's an experiment. There's always a good chance that it might not work out. And there's a long story about one of my favorite teachers who taught me a little bit about life as an experience and as an experiment. But experiments are those that you might not know where it's going to go or how it's going to turn out. And that makes things to see a bit interesting from time to time, doesn't it? Well, I am Stan Houston. I'm the co-founder of the Christian Entrepreneur Network. We go under tcenglobal.org, tcenglobal.org. And you can reach out to me at Radio Edge, because we're always radio on the edge. Radio Edge 77. We are on Route 77 in the southwestern state of Arizona in the USA. So there we are. Route 77, Radio Edge 77 is where the Studio 1 is located. And we're coming your way with our usual daily excursion, experiment, experience, in which we simply say this: Jesus was an entrepreneur, and we are called to be like him. We're made in God's image, and we are able to create in many ways our own likeness. And what do we design? What do we create? What kind of a picture or likeness or image or design do we take and make and perhaps pass on, because we are made in God's image with a certain design? Well, I had a variety of experiences. I always do. And one of them finally hit me, and I just wanted to share it with you, because that's what I try and do. And I think it'll be helpful for you as an entrepreneur. Well, here's the deal. As we say, Principle 2, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are not human beings just having a paced-on, occasional spiritual experience if we want to. It's the other way around. And that is because very clearly. As one person said, "This I know, there is a God. No question about that." Now, the problem for me is the same one that St. Francis had, and that was the three questions that he oftentimes asked. Well, really, who is God? And then, secondly, who am I? And based on those two answers, what am I supposed to do? Well, just think about that. That's a thought. Have you got God down? Well, be careful. Because as someone has once said, if you can fully comprehend God, you haven't got him. God cannot be comprehended by you. If you would fully comprehend God, they couldn't. Whoever they or that is couldn't be God. Now, we're playing a lot of fun games, but hopefully it gets you thinking from time to time. Hey, here is the deal. I have really come to challenge myself. And kind of, as I say, an emotionally constipated Midwestern Scandinavian male, I've been emotionally constipated in some ways, emotionally stultified like so many men my age and stage around the world. And falling in love and being vulnerable and maybe being a little more authentic and being a little more real, that does not come easy to anybody, but particularly it doesn't come easy to me, particularly as an incredible introvert. Now, I sound and act like an extrovert because I've performed, because I speak, because I do video, and because I do radio. But part of that is an act. You practice something for well on to 50-some years, you get pretty good at it. And I may perform as an extrovert, but deep inside, there is an introvert. My daughter once said, she said, if you really want to understand my dad, he probably would have been most happy if he could have been a monk in the Middle Ages with a Macintosh. That's all he would have needed. He would have been happy being that and doing that. Well, I'm not so sure how I feel about that. But here's what I am discovering. God truly is there, and God is love. And what I found is that God primarily delights in showing his love as he works out and works with us what he is all about, what she is all about, if you'd prefer that, and that is they love beautiful design. They love design. And God is a designer. More and more I've been taught to just pay attention to the little things, particularly in creation. One man said, Stan, I like it when you go for your walks. And that's good, because I know you pray with your walks. And when you go with Jackson the dog, Jackson's kind of a prayer partner. But you know what? Take some time just to slow down and look more closely at the things you walk by and see. Start looking not only in creation, but in your own life and in your own experience for evidences, and sometimes more than evidence, some great overwhelming proof, some awesome thing where you say, ah, God, design for the best, and maybe even for me. Just think about that. God, the designer. And you know what? You got to fall in love with him. Love the Lord your God. Love the Lord your God. With everything you got. With whatever it takes. Heart, mind, soul, spirit, body, enthusiasm, energy. With all you got. Love him. And that's what really makes him smile. And that's what pleases him. So, love your designer. I'm just pausing now to let that sit on your head for a while. Hey, let's take a break. We're just about halfway done. And then I'm going to talk about the two other Love Your Design or Love Your Designers and how that can make sense for you in your life and particularly as an entrepreneur.
You're traveling to another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Sometimes I like to play that just for fun. Hey, we're in the Twilight Zone. Sight, sound, and imagination. And again, Rod Serling was a premier designer of the mystery story. And he was incredible in designing radio and television experiences. The people who really excel are designers. And so you have to begin to fall in love with just the whole idea of design. You look for it, you appreciate it, you want to create it. And if you're like me, and you aren't really good at it except perhaps imagining it, then you'll find someone, as I say, fall in love with your designer who can help you love, appreciate, and create design. Part of the thing I'm using right now, of course, is a MacBook. Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs loved design. In fact, if you read the story of Jobs, he will tell you stories about his simple father, who was he was an adopted son. His father adopted him, and all of his life, his father, a mechanic, worked hard, had 2 or 3 jobs, but he always appreciated design. And he tells the story one time that he was helping his dad, who always kept everything wonderful, neat, and put a little design into life. And they were painting the fence. And they painted the fence where everybody would see. And he said, then we came to the part there, and I said, well, Dad, why are we painting this? Nobody will see this. And his father turned to him and said, we will know. We will know. People may not see our design, but we will know, and we didn't do it right. We didn't finish it. And it is said that he used to drive the engineers at Apple nuts because in that mass of wires that you usually see in equipment, they just kind of thread them all together. He would insist that there would be some beautiful design just in the wiring and the placement of the parts. Totally unnecessary for the actual performance of the machine, but it was the design. And of course, the fascination that Steve Jobs had with the fonts that he learned in a calligraphy class in the college that he dropped out of. And then the story is that he drove the designers of the iPad crazy. The engineers and those people who are putting it together just make it a square little tablet with these edges. Oh no. He insisted that it have the obvious rounded edges in all its parts and places. And the money and the time and the energy that was spent to make sure that the iPad had that kind of rounded, smooth, pleasant design to its very feel and look was vital to him. Again, just another story to illustrate. Here we got God, the designer. Fall in love with him. Don't fall in love with Steve Jobs, but to fall in love with the beauty of design. Look for it, appreciate it, honor it. And finally, God, design. And now, another designer. And this one, his name is Scott. Scott Franco is my designer. Now, Scott, I met through a variety of circumstances in a Christian group, and we worked together. I found out that he was incredibly talented. He was an entrepreneur. In fact, in a wonderful story, he basically became an entrepreneur when he wanted to be a writer and an artist, but he became an entrepreneur in order to help his wife's family be successful. And it wasn't the business he would have chosen, but he chose to serve his wife's family, her family in a family business, and he made it extremely successful. And now more and more he did and made his business and brought it to be more in line with what he really loved to do, which was, it wasn't just the sign, it was the design, it was the beauty, it was the impression, it was the entire experience. And he simply put together, we're going to help you not only build a brand, we're going to help you build impressions, because that's the difference. And I'm holding right now some of his work. And I wish this were video. In fact, I'm probably going to do a video just about this. It's some beautiful work that he has done for the Christian Entrepreneur Network. We've done some talking, we've done some thinking. I had some other ideas from some of those cheap Fiverr designers, but he is the one who says, And he makes something that isn't all that bad, beautiful and awesome. You need to find somebody at the very beginning of your enterprise. People say, well, get an accountant, get a banker. I say, get a designer, get an artist. One of the seed things, we talk about how to seed your company, how to seed a startup. And we're going to be talking about seeding a startup. And one of the things I'm going to teach you, and Scott's going to teach you, is right from the beginning of the startup, seed your design. Find somebody who will listen to your story and begin to give it pictures and images and possibilities and emotional frameworks, because believe me, it's not real until they can see it. And time after time, what is true is I've got an idea, but when I have an image or a logo or something beautiful that is a design that captures the picture, the frame, the idea, all of a sudden the conversation talks about a real thing, a real business, a real deal. And so find a designer. Franco Design, www.francodesign.com. He knows how to do it. And I love the work he does, and I love him as a person, and I want you to follow that advice. Find yourself in love with the designer and make it real. And then you know what? Falling in love with beautiful design helps getting those love juices going. And then people that come into your life, and find someone whose design work you really love. It just kind of tingles you and makes you feel good about the world and the business and the entrepreneurs and the enterprises that you have. And then make sure they're part of how you build your own Starship Enterprise. Find the designer you love. I'm Stan Houston. This is Radio on the Edge. This is the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience. We'll be right back. We did it. Under 20 minutes. Remember, as I say, take 20 minutes every day just to kind of take a time out and do something else, but listen and learn. If you take 20 minutes to listen and learn every day, it'll go better for you. And I just simply encourage you to do just that. Again, my friend Scott Franco at Franco Design. Good work. Good stuff. Good man. Behold the man. Look at the work he does. And he's helping us with the spirit of the home of the Startup Nation, the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience, and TCEN Global. It's all coming together beautiful. And remember that line? Don't you just love it when a good plan comes together? TCENglobal.org, TCENglobal.org, RadioEdge77@gmail.com, RadioEdge77@gmail.com. We can help you. Scott can help you. I can help you. And there's people all over this network who can help you, indeed, build something beautiful. Design a life, design a business, design a sign that will show people the way, and expand your brand. All the best as you do just that, and bye for now.